You're listening to The Narrow Mind, show number 807, May 25th, 2007. Open Phones Friday and Fashion Disasters.
You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and of sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of the imagination. There's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, The Narrow Mind.
All right, all you narrow mind addicts out there. Welcome to another edition of The Narrow Mind. It is Open Phones Friday, so let me begin by giving out our phone number. Our number is 1-800-466-1873. That is toll-free, 1-800-466-1873, or you can call us on the local line at area code 951-676-0583. We're going to do something a little bit different tonight. If you are on the Narrow Mind email update group, then you would have got the announcement today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the usual things that we talk about on Open Phones Friday. If you've got a question concerning theology, morals, worldviews, the Bible, etc., we'd be more than happy to talk to you about those things. But we're also going to include a light-hearted discussion. Grace, we got some calls coming in.
Oh.
We're going to... I think I scared her. We're going to include a lighthearted topic tonight. I want to talk about fashion disasters. That's right. I want to talk about fashion disasters. Maybe you can think back on your life if you lived through the 80s or the 70s or maybe even the 60s. And you've, as you're thinking back, you remember something that you wore that is so funny, so ridiculous, that it even hurts to think about that. We're going to be talking about that because I was thinking today, I'm looking around, you see these kids walking, you see them walking to school, you see them walking in the mall. They've got the boys, now I'm talking about Southern California. The boys have these baggy pants on and they're sagging way down. They've got, I don't even know how they walk in them. And they've got a belt. In fact, sometimes they're walking like ducks or penguins or something because they don't want the pants to fall down. And then they've got the hoods. They've got the hoods going on. And you look at that and you think, how could they wear their pants like that? And then the girls have the tight pants going on, but it's like the goal is to try to get the back low, but not too low to show the top of your crack. And so they try to get them as low as they can, and then they wear something that reveals their midsection. And what they do is they walk around in public like this. So I was thinking about that and thinking about how ridiculous it looks, and then I began thinking about how I used to dress. So we're going to take your calls, and in a little bit I'm going to share with you some of the outfits that I used to wear. And we've got Brother Lawrence out there in the Narrow Mind Pub. Yeah, and I want to talk to you too. I'm glad you're on the microphone. This is my wife, Grace.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so today is a very special day. Would you like to tell our listening audience what today is?
Sure. It's our 16th wedding anniversary.
Our 16th wedding anniversary.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's thinking about some ex-girlfriend or something. Maybe it's his ex-wife. Who knows? And she's with somebody else. But he's thinking about her, and I guess it's their anniversary. Or maybe it's her anniversary with a new guy. But why don't you tell our listening audience what you did today and then what we're going to do later.
Why do you want me to tell them what I did today?
No, people, not that. I'm talking about going out to dinner. We're going to go out to dinner later.
Yeah.
Because I want the men in our listening audience
to know what kind of husband you are.
That's right. That's right. I like to get a little bit of recognition. I mean, when it doesn't come natural. I have to work hard at it. And so I just thought I'd ask, what did you do today, honey?
Okay. Well, you totally surprised me. This wasn't something that I put into your head. And I got to go have a hour massage.
That's right.
An hour facial and a spa pedicure.
That's nice.
Even Lawrence is saying, wow.
And how did it feel?
It was wonderful.
All right. Now, I'm the type of guy, and my wife, I'm sure can attest to this. I don't like to, make a big deal out of Valentine's Day and stuff like that, because we've been together for a while. Although we've been married for 16 years, we're getting ready this October. We're going to celebrate 20 years from the first time that we went out. On October 10th, 1987, that was our first date. And so that's kind of exciting. So we were together for 4 years before we even got married. But when you've been together for several years, you don't like to, as a guy, it doesn't feel right that I'm forced to do something like, get some chocolate on Valentine's Day or something like that. So I don't like to do that. But I decided that it would be a good idea to get you something this year. And
Thank you.
So I got you something. And I'm going to take you out to dinner after the program's over.
I thought I was taking you out to dinner.
Oh, you're paying?
With your money.
That's right. I was going to say, when did you get a job?
I'm doing it right now.
That's right. No, you are, and I appreciate that. So because you're doing it right now, you can take me out to dinner.
Okay.
All right. So, and I want you to too, Grace. Now, Grace didn't know this, but I want you to start thinking of some of your fashion faux pas because later on I'm going to call upon you.
No.
So I want you to think about some of the most ridiculous stuff that you ever wore.
None of my stuff was ridiculous.
None of your stuff was ridiculous?
No, it was really cool at the time.
All right. All right.
There's nothing wrong with dolphin shorts, Lawrence.
Yeah, and high heels at the same time?
And high heel? No. It was cute back then.
Yeah, it was cute back then. All right, let's give out the phone number once again, 800-466-1873. Taking your calls tonight live at 1-800-466-1873. Let's go out to Ojai. I suppose it's pronounced Ojai, California. Talk to Trey.
That's correct.
Trey, welcome to The Narrow Mind.
Hello, Gene. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, but I have a doozy of a fashion disaster that I'm not even sure I can tell you about.
Well, after you hear mine, you probably won't feel so bad.
I've seen the picture now.
Well, that's not me.
Oh, that's not you?
Yeah, Trey is referring to a picture that I have on the homepage of a guy. And you know what? It's funny because Lawrence pointed out, he said, if you notice that bracelet, now there's a name for those bracelets, but those are a fairly new invention. So he said this is probably a current picture, which I didn't even see the bracelet. But what Trey is referring to is on the homepage right now at unchainedradio.com. We've got a picture of a guy wearing the Michael Jackson Thriller jacket from the Thriller video. In 1983, now this is a true story. In 1983, I worked at a clothing store. I was the assistant manager of a clothing store called DJ's. And back east, they called it Merry-Go-Round. And so if you're from the East Coast, you might recognize the name Merry-Go-Round. But I was assistant manager there. We had the exact version of that red jacket. Now, I think his red jacket, it looks like pleather. It's like a fake leather material. But we actually had the real leather material, and it was selling for $400. Now, back in 1983, $400 was a lot of money. And we had just about every brother in that mall that came in and wanted to try on that jacket, man. And then I think we finally sold it to some guy in the Navy, some guy from Ohio or something like that, some just totally white kid that just, you'd never imagine him wearing a Michael Jackson, but he spent his whole Navy paycheck buying that thing. So tell me about your fashion disaster, Trey.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to just touch on the Richard Dawkins slip of the tongue, shall we call it?
Oh, yeah.
Want to fill everybody in on what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're referring to Atheistic Wednesday. On Wednesday morning at our 9 o'clock show, I was playing a clip between a debate between Richard Dawkins, the atheist, the well-known atheist, and Alistair McGrath, a professor at Oxford University. And Richard Dawkins slipped up. And he used a popular expression, and he said, "Oh my God," or something to that effect. Or he said,
Yeah.
my God.
And Gene, the thing is in our United States court systems, that's referred to as an excited utterance.
Really?
Under the Federal Rules of Evidence law, an excited utterance is a hearsay. I'm reading this from Wikipedia. It's excited utterance is a hearsay exception and is admissible to prove the truth of the statement.
Wow.
The basis for the hearsay exception is the belief that a statement made under stress, which is anything excited. There are examples here is like somebody in a car, look out, we're going to crash. That's an excited utterance. So whatever prompted Richard to go, oh my God, he was in an excited state. And that is called an excited utterance and is admissible as an exception to the hearsay rule, and is because it is likely to be trustworthy and unlikely to be premeditated falsehood.
Interesting.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, he didn't say, oh, my pink unicorn, or oh, my flying spaghetti monster, or anything like that.
No, he didn't, and,
And there's a reason for that, because Richard Dawkins is made in the image of God, and he continues to suppress the truth and unrighteousness.
But yet every voice, will speak the name of God. I mean,
yeah, yeah. Every tongue will confess.
At any rate, a happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
16 years.
Yeah, it's a major accomplishment for my wife.
What?
It's a major accomplishment for my wife. It's not easy being married to me. I sound like such a nice guy on the radio, and the honest truth is I'm just like everybody else. I'm a sinner, and sometimes I'm grouchy, and yeah, I got a good wife.
I feel the same way about my wife putting up with me, and as a matter of fact, my fashion disaster goes back to 32 years ago.
32 years ago. So we're talking about
1975.
1975. I was in the 5th grade.
Yeah. Well, I was getting married.
So you're a little bit older than me.
I was getting married in a powder blue polyester leisure suit.
Nice.
Needless to say, we don't show our wedding pictures to anybody.
Did you have a mustache?
Yes.
And did you have long hair?
Long hair and long sideburns.
Yeah.
That sounds exactly like my sister's
That's what I was
first
picturing.
husband.
Oh, I look awful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was about the time that Angel Flight, they weren't Angel Flights, were they? Remember the Angel Flights?
I remember. They were pretty tight.
Angel Flights were the really tight polyester pants.
This was a loose thing, but it was just the worst thing in the world. I have no idea what I was doing with that on. Yeah, thankfully, it was an outdoor. We're actually in the woods. We're in pine trees and everything. It wasn't a formal wedding. My wife was beautiful. She's in, I guess, what you kind of call a granny dress. They were popular back then, but it was beautiful, beautiful dress. Not a wedding dress per se, but she looked gorgeous, and most everybody there was dressed nice. And there I'm standing in my leisure suit. It's too funny. Well, but everybody should listen carefully for excited utterances, because I think it's a window into a person's soul.
That's right. It is. It is. It's the image of God slipping up, rising to the surface, and then man, if you were listening carefully, you would have actually heard like giggling in the audience.
Yes.
And I think the moderator even laughed. So if you want to hear what Trey is referring to, you can go back and listen to our Wednesday program. It's still available for free download over at the Narrow Mind Aftermath blog. Hey, Trey, I appreciate you making yourself transparent and vulnerable and telling us about that blue was it baby blue, did you say?
It was powder blue.
Powder blue. I wore a powder blue tuxedo.
Thank you for the show, and thank you for everything you do.
All right. God bless you, brother. Okay. Taking your fashion disasters tonight at 1-800-466-1873. Now, as I started thinking about this, I've actually got a whole list of fashion disasters. I suppose it began when I was in high school, when I went to watch this live band. It was a local live band, and I saw this guy who was probably about 6 feet tall, that weighed 140 pounds, wearing these skin-tight Sergio Valente designer jeans.
You have Lawrence dying over there.
And
I had Sergio Valente jeans also.
They had like a V embroidered on the back pockets. And I never forget, I went to Miller's Outpost, and I think the reason why I liked him so much is because the girl that I went to go see the band with commented on him. And I'm like, I got to get a pair of those. So I go to this place called Miller's Outpost, and they're $50. Now, I'm probably making like $75 a week. And I took that girl with me, and I like had to buy them at that point. So I bought them, and they were size 28, and I went home, and I laid down on my bed, and I squeezed them on, and then I wore them, and I had to hear people saying, dude, you don't have a butt. I wore them in the 12th grade in high school. This is in 1982. I graduated in 1982. So then I get out of high school. And one of my first jobs that I get right out of high school is I start working at a place called Jeans West. Now, this is the time when Magnum PI is popular and designer jeans. And remember those Braxton jeans? There was Jordache, Braxton. Braxton were the kind of cheaper ones. And then you had the Sergio Valentes. There's probably a couple other brands. I don't even know if Calvin Klein was up and going yet. But so I went and I just got a job at this place. I went and bought these skin-tight, dark denim blue designer jeans with a red velour shirt and a red belt. And I tucked it in.
That's awful.
I thought I looked so cool.
Oh, my gosh.
See, this is the problem. This is the problem. When you're dressing like this.
We weren't together then, so that's okay.
No, you weren't. But you know what? I bet you we could have been if I would have met you.
Oh, not with that outfit on.
You know what? Your tastes have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to say. But I thought I looked so cool. I remember I got all dressed up and I came downstairs. I even wanted to see what kind of response I was going to get out of my brother and sister when I walked downstairs. And they're like, hey, that's a pretty nice shirt. I go, yeah, it's really soft. Feel it. It was like a velour terry cloth shirt. So if now I've got some stuff that's worse than that coming up after we come back from the break. So if you've got a fashion disaster that you'd like to share with us, I'd love to talk to you at 1-800-466-1873. All right, and welcome back on this Fashion Disaster Friday. That's right, talking about my fashion disasters. You may think that this is odd because this is normally a biblical-based, theological-based, Christian-based radio program. But, I want our listeners to realize that it's okay to talk about lighthearted things from time to time. It's okay to sit back and have some fun and laugh at yourselves. I don't take myself too seriously, but this probably wouldn't be a topic that you would hear on the Bible Answer Man or another, popular radio program, but that's okay. I like to not only laugh at myself, but I also like to allow our listeners to get to know me a little bit. So I'm hoping that, well, maybe I should allow them to get to know the present me so they don't form the wrong impression. All right, so I'm out of high school now. I go down and I get a job. I'm wearing the designer jeans, and then all of a sudden there's like this huge shift in the trend. And everybody's buying these slacks, these dress slacks that have the pleats in the front, right? And then it's like you had the double pleated slacks, but then that wasn't enough. So then you had to get the triple pleated slacks. and then they came out with 5 pleats in the front. And we're like, whoa, 5 pleats on each side. And then all of a sudden, Bogarts. Bogarts. They had pleats going all the way around. All the way around. And what kind of shirt would you wear with these type of slacks? Well, none other than a double-breasted wingtip shirt with a bow tie.
Like Reggie.
Like Reggie. By the way, they caught Reggie today.
What?
They caught Reggie.
What do you mean they caught Reggie?
They caught Reggie. You didn't see it on the news?
What?
They caught Reggie the alligator.
Oh, you're crazy.
They've been looking for this alligator called Reggie. I'm sorry.
Goodness.
See, not only do I like to laugh at myself, I like to laugh at Reggie. All right. We love you, Reggie. IG, homeboy. All right. Getting back to what I was saying. So you got these in case people don't know who Reggie is, he's the infidel guy. He's an atheist. He's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, but he has a nice website. So if you get a chance, check him out. But you had these slacks with all the pleats around them, and then we started wearing these wingtip like tuxedo shirts. And then they started making this like polished polyester. It was called chintz. This fabric that was like, I think it was like 50% cotton and 50% polyester, and it had like a shine to it. And they started coming out with these shirts that had buttons, like 2 rows of buttons going all the way up the chest, and with a little flap. And it had a different color on the inside of the flap. You remember that? So from there, and then all of a sudden, I see this guy walk in the mall. Right? And, because I'm like Mr. Fashion Conscious at this point. I'm working in a clothing store. I'm 18 years old. I'm just like all about fashion. And I see this guy walk in the mall, and he's got these they look like red plastic pants. And I'm like, whoa. I'll go over to him. Where did you get those pants? They were called Panadors. Panadors. The original. I
had some black ones.
You had some black ones.
Mm-hmm.
The original parachute pant. So they are skin tight. They're skin tight. So
weren't they supposed to be made for girls though?
Well, I bought them at Judy's Boutique in Fashion Valley.
That's probably where I got mine. I love that store.
That was the only place that sold them. No, they had some for men and they had some for women.
That's just not right though.
The women had the women cut was totally different. But, yeah, it's not right, is it? So then I get these red Panador pants, size 29. Now I'm up to a size 29. Skin tight. And you can't wear underwear with these things because...
Oh, my gosh. Gene. Oh.
Okay.
Your listeners are just probably... don't know what to think now.
Listen, if you've got a fashion disaster that you'd like to share on the Narrow Mind, now is your chance. I'm being totally you can't get much more embarrassed than I am right now.
Too much information.
Well, I'm trying to give you the visual.
No, we don't want a visual.
So I got the listen to this. I got the red Panador pants, and they are skin tight with all the zippers. Oh. Right? You can't even put your wallet in the pocket because that's how tight they are.
That's scary.
So then I got these. Remember, they came out with these white Jazz Oxford. They were called Capizios.
I had those too.
White Jazz
Like
Oxford.
I said, it was for girls.
So I've got the white Jazz Oxford shoes. They're like some kind of dance shoes. Do I know how to dance? No. Have I gone to the dance studio? No. But I've got the white Capizio Jazz Oxfords with a red Panador pants, with a white tuxedo shirt, with a red satin bow tie. And I'm walking through the mall, coming to work, just thinking I'm looking so cool. And I run into this guy that I graduated from high school with. Now, in high school, I used to hang out with the group that was called the Lodies, okay? If you don't know what that means, I don't know if that was something that was strictly for California. But we were kind of like the guys that listened to Led Zeppelin and Van Halen and that, AC/DC, that type of music. We all had long hair, and we thought we were cool. Black T-shirts, Levi 501 jeans and all that. So Vans shoes. So when this guy saw me, it was like a totally different, look. And so he walks up to me and he looks at me and he goes, "Dude, are you gay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not gay. You wouldn't believe all the girls you can get dressed like this." And he's going, "Come on, dude, this looks totally gay." And I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not gay. I have a girlfriend, okay? I'm not gay." Like 3 months later, that same guy came in
wearing it
into DJ's buying parachute pants. Now, he didn't buy the red ones. I think he bought some navy blue ones. But, yeah, so everybody was wearing parachute pants. Then I got in this kick where I wanted to be GQ, right? So I started buying the GQ magazines, and I kind of went to the next level of fashion. Started buying all these suits, but I wouldn't buy like a regular suit. My suit had to be different. I remember I bought a suit for $175 back in 1983 that did not have a lapel on it. All right? It was just like cut, like the lapel was cut off. And I thought that was so cool. So from there, where do we go from there? From there, all of a sudden, you got Def Leppard. You got like the heavy metal, like the hairband thing started happening. Right?
That was still the
So this is about
shoes,
1984. So I'm still able to wear the parachute pants. Now I'm wearing the white parachute pants. Okay? The white parachute pants with a Vidal Sassoon striped dress shirt with the sleeves cut off.
I think Lawrence is going to pass out over there.
With a cloth $4 turquoise belt. Because it had turquoise and white stripes.
I think we still have that somewhere in the garage.
Really?
There's a box of some of your old super skinny ties.
Yeah, I used to wear the skinny ties.
Yeah, and we still have some of those bolo ties.
Oh, yeah, the bolo ties.
And then the little things that you put on the end of your collar.
Those little pointed things that you put,
tips.
You screw them down. Those, yeah, right, silver tips. I put those on the end of my collars.
Yeah.
That was like 1987.
Okay. That's when we were first
But I'm not
dating.
I'm not that far yet.
Okay.
I'm not that
Go
far.
ahead. Go back to your other fashion statements.
So then all of a sudden the whole heavy metal thing got popular, the hair bands of the 80s. And so I got to grow out my hair. So I started growing out my hair, and then I came home one day and I'm like, Grandma, because my grandmother used to bleach my mom's hair. So I'm like, Grandma, I need you to bleach my hair. And she goes, okay, I don't know how it's going to look, but I'll do it. She bleached my hair, and it looked like a baby chicken. That's the color it was. It was like baby chicken yellow. And then like 2 weeks later, the roots started growing out.
Oh, gosh.
And so I'm like, we need to bleach it again. So we bleached it more, and it went platinum. And then I had the fancy cut. I was hairspraying it up. I had what was that hairspray that came Aquanet.
Aquanet.
Man, I used so much of that stuff that when you walked into my bathroom, the floor was sticky.
Mm-hmm.
you walked into my bathroom and my mom's like, "Why is the floor all sticky?" I said, "Oh, it's my hairspray." Well, why don't you spray it on your head?
Be on your head, yeah.
Instead of, and then I got the big, what was that gel that started with was it Dep gel? Mm-hmm. They didn't have
like Dippity Doo or something.
Yeah, there was. You got to understand. There's been a lot of technological advances in hair care products. When I was going through this stage, if you wanted to put gel in your hair, you couldn't just pull out a tube and squirt it on your hand and put it in your hair. You had to take your hand and dip it in this bucket and then wipe it around. It's amazing. All right, but I want to hear, I know that there's somebody out there, somebody's listening to the program right now that has a fashion disaster that they would like to share. They're just
Don't be embarrassed.
They're a little bit shy. So go ahead and call up. Our number, 1-800-466-1873. Toll free, 1-800-466-1873. Now, Grace, you had to, along the way, at some point, wore something that was embarrassing. If you think about it now, it was embarrassing. Come on, so let's be honest now.
I'm trying to think.
This is a Christian program.
I'm trying to think.
You're trying to think. Did you ever wear those leg warmer things? The cowboy boots with the leg warmers?
No.
No.
I wore leg warmers for exercising with the little leotard.
You can't think of anything that you wore that if you saw a picture right now, you just go, I can't
I'm trying to think of some
I
old
can't believe
pictures
what I
of
was
me.
thinking. Because I can keep going.
I'm trying to think. I wasn't really into fashion like you were, obviously.
Well, obviously not.
So I can't say that I picked all the different trendy things that were happening. The only thing was in the 80s is when we were in the real bright colors.
Oh, like the
neon.
The neon colors.
Neon pink, neon green.
Right.
But I still think that stuff was cool.
Did you have like a neon orange dress with neon orange accessories?
Yes.
With
I
it-
did have. I don't like that. All the accessories were the same color, and I don't think that would be good now.
Because I did go to work at a store eventually that sold men's and women's clothes. And I was actually working there around 1985, 1986, when that whole women's neon clothing thing became popular. Mm-hmm. So I would be, since I was on commission, I'd be sure to sell the neon bracelet, the neon orange bracelet with the neon orange fingernail polish with the neon orange. I'd basically sell the whole thing with the belt, the necklace, you name it.
Yep.
The little thing that you stick in your hair to hold your hair back, the headband. So
I did like I did wear like the kind of the Madonna look stuff.
well, I don't know. That's not that embarrassing, I guess.
I
unless-
know, that's why I'm saying. I had the fingerless gloves, all different kinds.
Now that's embarrassing. Fingerless
no,
gloves.
they were cute.
Fingerless gloves.
They were cute. Like you'd have little lace ones that would go with your little lace socks.
Yeah, that would be like me wearing one Michael Jackson glove. That's how
No,
cute
it
it
was cute.
That's another
can't
thing.
tell
Remember
me.
the one Michael Jackson glove?
I wore two. I wouldn't just wear one, but it was cute.
So then, when I met you in 1987. Mm-hmm. And
Well, I already knew you though.
yeah, you knew me from high school, but we hadn't been in contact with each other. Mm-hmm. We didn't even go to the same high school. We just lived in the same neighborhood. But when I met you, then I started. That was when the whole Guess jean thing was out there.
Right.
So you got the Guess jeans. Now they're not $50. They're like between $75 and $125 a pair. Because it wasn't enough just to have the Guess jeans. Now they had to have the leather trim on the pockets, right? And if you didn't
Yes.
have that triangle on there, if you had some phony triangle on there, that was just
Lame.
unacceptable. Mm-hmm. So you got the Guess jeans, then you got the Guess shirts. I started getting those Guess shirts.
That's what I'd spoil you.
Yeah, that's right.
I was buying you lots of
You were buying me a lot of that stuff.
clothes, jackets, boots.
And then the Z Cavaricis.
Those were my favorite.
The Z Cavaricis. With a small waist with the pleats that went down to a small ankle. And then I got some of those boots from Wild Pair. Remember that? You bought them for me.
Yeah, I think I bought them for
You
you.
bought them. You bought me those boots from Wild Pair that had the snake skin on them with the buckle over the top. But they weren't like cowboy. They were like kind of like sagging. That like the top the part that went up towards your calf. That part was like kind of like looked like it was pushed down.
Right.
And it was sagging. So I would wear my Z Cavaricis and push my pants into the boots.
You hear Lawrence.
And then
Lawrence is saying, "Oh no."
and then I got the Guess shirt on with the bolo tie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought I was so cool. I skipped the whole Duran Duran phase, didn't I?
Thank goodness.
I actually took.
You didn't ever wear makeup and stuff.
No, I
right?
never wore makeup.
Yeah, so that's good.
I wasn't like that.
That's
I
good.
never wore makeup, but I did go and bleach my bangs one time. I had like a
What? What do you mean?
like that guy in Duran Duran. He
Just
wore-
just the bangs.
Just the bangs, and I had it hanging down on my forehead, like almost covering one of my eyes.
No. Like the flock of seagulls guy or something?
No, that was a little bit more up and over.
Oh.
This was just, and his hair was all one color. My hair was brown, but it was bleached just on that one part that hung down on the face. And then I was real skinny then, and then I had my hair cut over the ears like a mullet. You know?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. So this is the reason why I'm thinking about this and bringing this up is because, we see these kids walking around. I'm asking my son, what are you thinking? Pull your pants up. What is wrong with you? So then he pulls them up to his chest. Is it like this, Dad? Right? So, but I'm remembering back and I'm remembering how silly the things that I wore. How silly were those things? And I think if we're honest, all of us at some point, except for my wife, all of us have at some point wore some fashion nightmare, some fashion disaster. All right, we're going to take our last break. When we come back, we'll be hearing from you. 1-800-466-1873. That's toll free. 1-800-466-1873. All right, 43 minutes after the... why don't you give me a call?
We have Melissa calling all the way from Ireland on line 3.
All right, Melissa, welcome to The Narrow Mind.
Hi, thank you, and happy anniversary.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Melissa.
you.
Yeah, that was really cool to hear that you've been together for such a long time. My husband and I are just married 2 years now, so yay.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. Now, do you have your speakers on, or is that coming through do you have like an internet phone or something?
No, I'm just ringing on a normal phone. I'm upstairs, so
Okay.
I don't have the radio on at all up here.
Okay, great. Because I can hear myself echoing in the background, but that might just be because we're going all the way to Ireland. Now, what time is it in Ireland right now?
I think it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, we just got back from the cinema, so we were up late anyway. So.
Okay. What movie did you see?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I was going to say, that opens tonight, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what's on your mind?
Well, I guess I could start with the fashion disaster, since that was kind of the topic of the night anyway.
All right.
Like, I like to think of myself as being pretty fashionable, so I don't have too many gruesome stories. But when I was about 11, it was really, really popular all of a sudden for all the girls to start wearing knee-highs, like white knee-highs with, like, chunky, clear, jelly shoes. Anyway, and I didn't have any knee-highs, and my mom and I didn't have time to go to the shop to buy some knee-highs and before church, and I really wanted to wear my knee-highs with my chunky-heeled shoes to church, and so I dug through my brother's drawers and found some baseball socks that came up to my knees, and I thought they were so cool, and so I wore them to church with my chunky heels, and it was really embarrassing afterwards when I realized that socks you can't just wear to your knees because you want to wear them to your knees. They had to be,
That's funny. That's a good one.
That was my worst one. But yeah. So anyway, since you brought up marriage kind of in the beginning, and like, it's just been on my heart and my husband's heart a lot this week because some of our best friends are actually having a really hard time in their marriage, and they're just after filing for a divorce and stuff, and it's been really, like, it's been a really big thing for us lately that we're talking about. And like, something that, like, kind of came up, one of our friends kind of brought up to us a verse, and they were, well, a couple of verses. And basically, we know that the Bible is pretty strong against, like, divorce,
right,
unless there's certain, cases or whatever. But, like, the person who was talking to us actually mentioned that the Bible is pretty against remarriage after divorce as well. And, like, I don't know, so my husband and I have really been talking a lot this week and just kind of, like, really reading the verses and, like, struggling over them. And, like, I know it doesn't really apply to us because we're married and we plan to be married, like, till death do us part or whatever. But, like, I was just wondering if I could get your perspective.
Sure.
Like, could I just read you, like, 2 verses that I have here
no
and
problem.
then just see what you say?
Sure.
In 1 Corinthians 7, 10 and 11, it says, "Now to the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. A wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and a husband is not to divorce his wife." So basically, let her remain unmarried is the part that is difficult there. And then Luke 16:18, it says, "Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery, and whoever marries her who is divorced from her husband commits adultery." And then there's one in Matthew and one in Deuteronomy. But, like, basically, like, there's a few scriptures that kind of would suggest that, like, remarriage would not be, like permitted. And I'm having a really hard time with that because, like, well, I guess it kind of says that in the Bible, but, like, I guess my whole life I've kind of heard it explained away, or that's only in certain cases, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm just completely confused right now. So, do you have any opinions?
Let me see if I can shed some light. I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold so I don't hear the echo of my own voice, if you don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So usually the confusion comes in because it's not clear that the recipients of, for example, 1 Corinthians and even the Gospel of Luke are supposed to be Christians. In other words, let's just take 1 Corinthians. It was written to the church at Corinth. And so Paul is addressing Christians. So it is unlawful for two Christians to get a divorce. And basically Paul's saying in the case where this happens, they are to remain unmarried. And I've actually had people, Melissa, it's funny you bring this up because I can remember one guy left the church because I told him he could not remarry. Now, you're not permitted to remarry because as long as the two parties have not remarried, there is the possibility of reconciliation. Now, Paul also goes on to talk about an unbelieving wife or husband who leaves the relationship. And so he says that if the unbelieving spouse leaves, then that believer is free. And so the question becomes free from what, or free unto what? And I would say free, they are released from that covenant obligation. Because remember, marriage is a covenant. And it's when we take vows before God, and we are supposed to take them unto death. We're supposed to be together. We're supposed to cleave to one another, leave our parents, and remain together until we die. That's what marriage is. And it's actually an analogous covenant to that covenant that we have with God. And that's why God takes divorce very seriously. So if you have two people who are claiming to be Christians, and they separate or even divorce, they are to remain single because there is the possibility of reconciliation. Now, oftentimes what happens is one of the Christians will say, well, my husband is actually an unbeliever. And so because we've divorced, because he divorced me, now I am able to remarry. Because Paul says if the unbelieving spouse leaves, then the believer is free. All right, so, but if you went and talked to that spouse, that man, he would tell you, no, she's the unbeliever. And so you have oftentimes when Christians get a divorce, the wife is saying the husband's an unbeliever and the husband is saying the wife's an unbeliever. This is one of the areas that I believe that church membership and church discipline is essential. Because if these two people who claim to be Christians belong to a church, then the leaders of the church need to step in and initiate some form of church discipline. Because, let's face it, divorce is a sin. And church discipline is for the purpose of calling Christians within the local church back to repentance, away from sin. And so church discipline should be initiated. The elders of that church should counsel and determine who needs to repent of what sins, who's at fault. If they're both at fault, they need to address that situation. But most of the time, you're going to have one party who has made up their mind that they want out of the relationship. And they don't care what the church says. They don't care what the elders say. And if that happens, then I believe that church is under obligation to go all the way with the instructions that are given in Matthew 18, and they are to put that person out of the congregation. And what does Matthew chapter 18 say? That they are to be viewed as a tax collector or a sinner or a publican. And so once the church pronounces excommunication upon a member of the church, they are at that point to be viewed as an unbeliever. So if you have a situation, for example, and let me tell you why I'm giving you all this information. If you have a situation where you have, let's say, a wife that doesn't want to divorce her husband, they're both claiming to be Christians, and then the husband leaves, doesn't listen to the elders of the church enacts discipline. When that husband does not repent, there comes a time and a place where that husband is to be excommunicated. Now, a lot of times that husband, in this example, already has somebody else or he has the intention of marrying somebody else. So the possibility of reconciliation sometimes isn't an issue. But I would say, in light of church discipline, that believer who stayed behind and maintained the good standing in that church is free, just as if that person said, I'm an unbeliever, and they left. Because remember, church discipline is a pronunciation of it's the public excommunication, and it is a statement saying this person is not repenting, therefore we are to see them as an unbeliever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because it might make sense, but at the same time not answer your question or clear up the confusion. So believers are obligated.
What about in the circumstance where, like, both would claim to be Christians, and then, say, the husband had an affair and is no longer wanting to be married and is still claiming Christianity, but has removed himself from the church? He wants the divorce, and he wants to stay with the other girl. So he's still claiming Christianity, he's still doing, quiet times or whatever, but he's obviously living in complete sin. Like, do you think in that kind of case, would the girl then be, like...
Well, I would say that church is still under obligation. In our church, we don't allow people in that situation to remove themselves from the church. They might say, I'm resigning my membership. Well, when you're in sin like that, you don't have the right to resign your membership in the face of church discipline. You can resign your membership all day long. We're still going to go through the steps and call you to repent. And sometimes that additional step it makes such a statement. If that person has any conscience whatsoever, sometimes that's enough to allow them to see the gravity of their sin and hopefully repent. All right? Hey, I appreciate the call and the question. Great question, great call. I'm glad that we have some Narrow Mind listeners out in Ireland. So, and I'm also happy that you and your husband, after 2 years, are still faithfully married to one another. That's good also. This is one of the problems, folks, when you belong to a church that does not have a biblical form of church government, that does not take church discipline seriously, everything becomes more complicated in the face of our sinful nature and in the face of these sinful circumstances. So, Melissa, thanks for calling. All right, Grace, who's up next?
We have Jenna calling all the way from Australia.
Jenna, welcome to the Narrow Mind. Down under, all the way from Australia.
Yeah.
Wow. And what time is it in Australia?
It's about 12 o'clock.
In the afternoon?
In the afternoon, yeah.
Okay, great. I like your accent there.
I'm also talking to his 11-year-old daughter.
Oh, really? Okay, well, say hi to Mark for me. So
he's listening.
Oh, is he? Okay, great. So you want to talk about your fashion disaster, or are you talking about fashion disasters of other kids?
Other kids. It's a question of what do you think the fashion disasters will be from today's youth in 10 years' time? You know what?
If I could predict that, I would probably make $1 million. Well, I'd make more than $1 million. The fashion disasters, the changes and trends are so radical that you would hardly imagine what was coming next. For example, here in Southern California, I'm already noticing that there is a trend to go toward away from the baggy pants. Now there's this new look. It's called emo. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah, I have.
And these kids, they're super skinny, and they're wearing these. The pants are skin tight. They come in black. They're skin tight from the legs down, but like the bottom area is still baggy.
Is it?
Yeah, it looks like some pants that SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants would wear or something. I mean, they would probably fit him perfect if you put those pants on him. So it's hard to say where fashion is going, but you can be sure it's probably going to be something funny.
Yeah, probably.
So what are the fashions like down in Australia?
It wears at the moment, like long tops, skinny tight pants.
Wow. And they don't
tight jeans and stuff.
Yeah, they don't look very comfortable.
No.
All right, Jenna, I'm glad you called. Anything else on your mind today, or is that all you wanted to say?
Oh, that's all I wanted to say.
All right. I'm glad you're listening all the way down under. Wow. Callers from Australia, callers from Ireland. And we've got a question in the chat room from Javier, who lives in Fort Worth, Texas. What do you think about Fred Phelps and the Westboro Baptist Church? Now, the Westboro Baptist Church, I've never listened to anything Fred Phelps has. I haven't listened to his MP3s. The only thing I know about Fred Phelps and the Westboro Church is that they seem to be hyper Calvinist in the sense that they kind of have a one-dimensional message from what I can see. If you do a search online for the Westboro Baptist Church, you're going to find out this is the church that goes and boycotts the funerals of our soldiers that have died in military service. They were supposed to be, I don't know if they followed through with it. I'm sure they did. They go out to funerals such as the late Dr. Jerry Falwell. He had his funeral last week, and they were going to go out there and picket. And I don't know what their problem is, but they've got some serious issues, all right? Anybody who is picketing at the funeral of one of our servicemen who has died in service, I mean, I'm all for freedom of speech, but there are certain things that I think that are just loony. I think these people have lost it. They are crazy. They are not demonstrating. I mean, is there anywhere in Scripture where we see Christ demonstrating this type of behavior? Is there anywhere in Scripture where we are commanded to go into a place where people are... What did Christ do when he went to a funeral? Remember, he said there was one case where he was walking and they were carrying a body, and he stopped and he opened the casket and resurrected that person. Or was that Peter? No, it was Jesus. It was Jesus. That's right. It's in the opening chapters of the book of Mark. And so if Jesus attends a funeral, he's coming for the purpose of life. He's not coming for the purpose of condemnation. Condemnation will happen later. He's coming with the message of life. And so, and I don't think that God hates fags. I don't think that particular message is the message of life. Okay, because that's what they have on their signs. God hates fags. God hates homos. And the reality is, if you had the ability to look into these people's hearts, the problem is not out there. Our biggest enemy is our own sinful nature. And when you miss that, you cannot effectively communicate the gospel. You become self-righteous, and you become the biggest, fattest hypocrite walking the face of the earth. If it starts there with your own understanding of your own sinfulness and the reality that if you're going to stand on the day of judgment, it's going to be by grace and grace alone. And when you miss that, which I think these people have, then you resort to things like, disturbing funerals where people, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers are grieving. And you're going to show up there and say, oh, this is the judgment of God? Well, you're going to find out what the judgment of God is soon enough. You've been listening to The Narrow Mind. My name is Gene Cook. Grace has something else she wants to say. Go ahead, Grace.
Judy called in, and she just wanted to let everyone know about a fashion
disaster. Okay, what is it?
Just so everyone knows, Judy is a woman that goes to our church, and she wanted everyone to know that she had put her husband in a lime green wedding tuxedo.
Go, Judy.
Lime green. Probably like, sherbet ice cream or something.
Nice.
And she said it matched her maid of honor's dress.
I used to have a pistachio suit.
I thought baby blue was bad, but lime green, not good, Judy.
That's pretty bad, Judy. All right, now I look at Judy in a whole different way.
Me too.
All right, folks, we're out of time for this edition. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And send me some feedback. If you liked this type of format where we pick something that's a little lighthearted and run with it, we'll do it again in the future. But I need to find out, because let's face it, this is the first time we've done anything like this, and I don't know, just me and this black microphone right here, and Lawrence laughing in the other room, but he laughs at everything I say, so it's hard to tell. All right, you've been listening to The Narrow Mind. My name is Gene Cook, and we'll see you on Monday, Lord willing, at 6 p.m. for our Monday's Memorial Day, right? Yeah, we're going to do a show on Monday night at 6 p.m. So tune in if you get a chance. All right, until next time, may the Lord continue to bless not only our walk with Him, but the study of His Word.
There's no babies.